Welcome to Dad's Watching Sports. It is Sunday, February 7th, 2021. Kyle Castle's Michael Draper, and Tom Brady is a seven-time.
Are you going to say it 7 times?
I might as well.
Don't. Nobody wants to hear you say it 7 times.
Super Bowl champion as the Buccaneers just knock off the defending Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs, 31-9.
Nobody saw that coming.
Nobody saw that coming. Although, if I do remember correctly, there was a certain host of a certain podcast that did say last week that it would not be as high scoring as some people thought. But
I will agree that someone did say that, but nobody saw a 31-9 beatdown.
No, they did not. All right, so it is episode 51. It is a 1-year anniversary, as we show when the Kansas City Chiefs were winning the Super Bowl last year over the San Francisco 49ers. He's Kyle Castles. I'm Michael Draper. Thanks for listening to Dad's Watching Sports. We're going live right now. I mean, the game literally just ended, and we're going live right now on our Facebook page, the Off the Ball Network Facebook page. Obviously, if you download our show each and every week, thank you so much for doing that. Please hit that subscribe button. Give us a rating and review as well. And please check us out on social media, as we like to be active on that as much as possible. Kyle, you text me and say, I'm having trouble. I know who knows what's going on my internet. It wouldn't be a Dad's Watching Sports if we didn't have some technical difficulties.
Look, your internet at the lake house is better. I think what you got to do is you got to move to the lake house, and you can just come back to your house when.
I think you're right. So we got Renee Weaver Subers. Renee, it is great to hear from you. Thank you so much for checking us out. Renee used to be my wife's supervisor. She's a great person. And then Steven says, I cannot believe it. Better believe it. The GOAT does it again.
The GOAT is the GOAT. The GOAT is the GOAT.
The GOAT is the GOAT. So we're going to get into it. We got a lot of stuff to get to tonight. We're going to talk a lot more than just Super Bowl, but on this week's show. But I mean, Kyle, literally the game just ended. As I said, 31-9, the Bucs take down Mahomes and the Chiefs. Initial thoughts on the game other than just Brady being Brady?
Obviously, the Bucs were just better. I mean, you start there. They were able to rattle Mahomes with that pass rush. And quite frankly, they were able to rattle I'm trying to remember who they played in the wild card round. Who was the quarterback for the Washington football team in that wild card round? Doesn't matter. It was not Alex Smith. It was not Dwayne Haskins. It was the third quarterback. They were able to rattle him. They were able to rattle Drew Brees. They were able to rattle Aaron Rodgers. And then they came into the Super Bowl and rattled Patrick Mahomes. There's not a better 3-game quarterback group than Brees, Rodgers, Mahomes. And they got to all 3 of them. Here's the thing. I know we want to say Tom Brady's the GOAT, and he's the GOAT. I'm not saying anything. Like, you watch the dude play. He's going to win Super Bowl MVP. I think 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, probably 250 to 300 yards. The dude will be MVP. He is the GOAT. But without that pass rush, they're not in the Super Bowl. That pass rush won them the Super Bowl because, quite frankly, it shut down the most prolific offense in the last 2 seasons of the NFL. So congratulations to them. Those 2 inside linebackers, and it's funny. Gosh, dog, I'm going to blank on his name. Our guest from last week,
Steve Rubio. Yep,
Steve Rubio. Thank you. Steve actually talked about those 2. You know, Devin White and I forget the other guy's name, but those 2 inside linebackers, they shut down the middle of the field. And that's where Mahomes does most of his damage with those crossing routes with Tyreek Hill and the tight end underneath.
Kelce.
Thank you, Travis Kelce. I still have COVID brain and my words are not coming to me, but that's where Mahomes does most of his work. And those two linebackers, I mean, they shut it down. And so you get the pass rush, you get the 2 linebackers shut down the middle of the field. It's over. I mean, the Chiefs offense doesn't work. It would have. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, you're good. I was just going to say, I mean, you tell a majority of people 2 days ago, hey, the Bucs are going to score 31 points. And a lot of people say that's not going to be enough. Kansas City's going to score. Yeah, the Chiefs are going to win. And the defense of the Bucs, to hold them to 9 points
Yeah.
It's all the credit in the world. They had, like you said, they had Mahomes on the run. I'll admit, I think it was at the end of the third quarter. Those two incompletions when they gave the ball up on fourth down. The one where he's spinning around and just throws it to the corner of the end zone, almost gets a completion. And then the one literally where he is parallel to the ground, falling down, guns it. It hits, I believe, Kelsey in the face mask. I mean, you talk about a freak athlete and a guy that is just the human joystick to rob a former player of that. That was unbelievable in a loss.
Yeah, I was listening to ESPN radio a couple times this week, and not to just steal everything from them, but I heard two things that struck me. One, Patrick Mahomes is the closest thing we've seen to Michael Jordan in the NFL. Now, the difference in Michael Jordan in the NBA and Patrick Mahomes in the NFL is if you put two revolving doors at tackle, which the Chiefs had tonight, Patrick, even the greatness of Patrick Mahomes can't overcome that. Even the greatness of Tom Brady can't overcome it. We saw it in his two games against the Giants in the Super Bowl. The Giants had that pass rush that got to him, and they couldn't get to, or he couldn't get in the flow. So, like what we know about football is it's much more of a team game than basketball. So you can't put all this on Mahomes. Quite frankly, the Chiefs' defense didn't show up. The offensive line didn't show up. Everything was left to Mahomes. And honestly, his receivers didn't show up. How many drops did he have tonight?
Yeah.
He can't do it all, where Jordan could legitimately do it all. Now, he didn't do it all. He had Pippen when he finally started winning world titles. But anyways, the point is, I think they're right. I think Mahomes might be, we might look at him at the end of his career and go like, that's the GOAT. Where he really changes the game. The other thing I heard was this is the most important game in the history of mankind. That's where you run into a little hyperbole. There's your word there,
That's
Mike.
Right. No, absolutely. That's right. No, I like that word. That's good, man. Our highly educated listeners out there, they're going to appreciate that one from you. Yeah, I mean, you can't put this loss on Mahomes totally. I completely agree. No. I mean, he didn't make any winning plays per se, but he wasn't the reason they lost the game. Again, I think the defense for the Buccaneers really just kind of ended up showing out in that game. Okay, we'll get into I'm sure they're going to announce the MVP and everything in just a bit.
Yeah, I'm waiting on it.
Let's talk about, I gave you a couple of scenarios, if the Chiefs win or if the Bucs win, for us to kind of do some light show prep before the show. We end up obviously going with what the Bucs do, but let's first focus on the Chiefs. They won the Super Bowl last year. Mm-hmm. They get back. They were the heavy favorite really all season to get there and to win. What do you see as next for the Chiefs? I mean, they've got a good core group there. I don't think anybody's going anywhere. But what do you think? I mean, are they just kind of a shoe-in to be back next year?
I mean, you never assume a shoe-in. I think a lot of people looked at the Niners going into the season and said, like, there's no reason they shouldn't be back. So no such thing as a shoe-in, but definitely I think they're still the favorite in the AFC. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. And it's hard to bet against that guy. He's got weapons everywhere. I think they address the offensive line a little bit. They get their starting guard back, and I forget his name. I apologize, but the one that left because he's also works in the medical or has a degree in the medical field, and he went to help with the pandemic instead of play this season. Like they get that guy back, they can get healthy at the tackle. Mitchell Schwartz is a heck of a tackle. Eric Fisher, not so much, and maybe they can upgrade there. I don't know if that's through the draft or through free agency. I don't know how that's going to work out, but they can address that offensive line, get Mahomes a little more protection, and take care of maybe a few holes in the defense, especially the secondary. Because if you watch that first half, the Chiefs secondary just penalty after penalty. And, I saw a lot of people on social media talking about like, it's rigged and the NFL obviously wants Brady to win because they always want Brady to win and blah. But like when they go back and they show the replays, I'm looking at it and going like, it's a penalty. Like I get why the flag's thrown. Maybe there should have been a few more flags thrown on the Buccaneers DBs like that. You could argue, but to say that the Chiefs DBs aren't, holding or they're not interfering, like no, they like those flags were legit.
Yeah, I saw a lot of that too, especially in the first half. People talking about the penalties, and I kind of was in agreement. I think there could have been. I can't remember who it was against. There was a penalty, I think a holding penalty called on the Chiefs, maybe towards the end zone late in the first half. That I was like, I don't know about that one, but for the most part, you could have easily called those. So I don't think that was something that ended up doing the Chiefs in without a doubt. All right, so let's shift to the Bucs here. We've already talked about this at length, and you and I are both guys that, I think I can easily say, we're not Tom Brady fans, but it's easy to recognize that this guy is the greatest quarterback of all time, just given what he's been able to do.
Yeah.
My question for you though, and I'll give you my answer first though, is where is he in terms of the greatest player of all time in NFL history? Because it seems like more often than not, we saw this with the MVP award for the regular season. Quarterbacks kind of get the nod over other positions when it comes to kind of levels of success and awards and things like that.
Right.
In terms of the greatest player of all time, I don't know that he's there. I think he is inching his way up in that list, very, very close to the top. But I don't necessarily know that I give him that yet. What do you think in terms of, is he the greatest football player of all time?
All right, so let me ask you this before I answer. Who do you put above him?
That's a great question. I mean, it seems like a lot of people in terms of their list of greatest football players of all time, Jim Brown's usually top of that list, Joe Montana. But if you're looking at quarterbacks, and if you say Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time, then does he have to leap Joe Montana? I don't know. That's a great question, Kyle. I don't know who I would put ahead of him. I just don't know that I can put him up there.
So here's the thing. In talking with, and this is going to sound condescending, and I apologize, because in this situation, I'm not trying to sound condescending to be funny, but in talking with people that know football better than most, right? I feel like I'm one of those people. I feel like the coaches I have worked with are some of those people. Most of us tended to say Jerry Rice was the greatest football player of all time. His longevity, his production over that time, and his ability to stay healthy, like all of that. And if you look at his records that he's got, like, it's not like there's anyone close.
Right.
You're talking about 22,000 receiving yards, and I think the next closest one is like 18, 17, something like that. Like, it's not even close to Jerry Rice. So I have said for many years, Jerry Rice is the greatest football player of all time. But you know what's funny? I was talking, we have Sundays where sometimes we go down to a friend of my father-in-law's house for lunch. It's like his sister. And we went down there, and I needed to get back pretty quick because I had a paper due in a class. Not a big deal, but I was mostly through with it. But I needed to get the paper done, so we came back so I could get it done. And he kept brought Hannah, our 1-year-old, home and got her to lay down because she needed a nap. But Jack and Wrigley, the 4 and 6-year-old boys, they stayed there and played because there's some other people that got kids roughly their age and that come over there and they played and had a good time, and Paw brought them back. And so me and Paw were talking before the game, and he said,
formerly known as Paw too, by the way.
Formerly known as Paw?
No, formerly. He is formerly known, not like he used to be known, but he is formerly known. Like, he introduces himself as Paw. Hi, I'm Paw. How are you?
He actually does introduce himself as Paw.
Yeah.
But we were talking about, is Brady the greatest player of all time? And me and him had the conversation, and I said Jerry Rice, and he said, I can't argue, but you also can't argue against Brady, especially, 7 world championships. I think they're just about to give him the MVP. I don't know if they're doing it just yet, but I just looked up. 7 world championships, 10 trips to it. He has more world championships as an individual than the Steelers have as a franchise. Like,
right.
This is stupid numbers. When I talk about, MVP, 5th time he's won the Super Bowl MVP, 7th world championship. When I talk about the records of Jerry Rice, there's nobody close to Brady
right.
in
Well,
championships.
and I think the thing for Brady that's going to play out over a long period of time here is this was important. This win was important for that legacy of him going down as the greatest player, because he did not do it with the Patriots. He switched teams, he switched conferences, went to a team. Yes, they had a good nucleus there, but the fact that he's the Patriots and they didn't make the playoffs and had owned the AFC and the AFC East for such a long time, he switches to the Bucs and then they go and win the Super Bowl. I think that's why you have to consider him the best of all time. So
I think you're down to two. I mean, I think it's Rice or Brady, and I think you can make an argument for either one. And who am I to argue either one? I will say, playing quarterback in the NFL, while I understand they don't have as much bearing on the game, playing quarterback in the NFL is the most important job in sports. I think at that point you got to give it to Brady.
I agree with you there. All right, so he's we're not going to make this whole show about Tom Brady. This will be the last time.
Well, we could talk
about him. We could, yes, but we're not going to do that. Does he return? He's 42 years old. He's just won his 7th Super Bowl.
43, right? 42, 43.
I think 42, but regardless, he's the oldest. He's the oldest starting quarterback in Super Bowl history. Does he come back to run this thing again and try to repeat?
You know, he has said more than once that he was going to play until he was, 45?
Yeah.
I think that was the number he threw out. So maybe. Maybe I think he comes back. Honestly, I think he comes back. And I think if he's back next year, as much as I want to say, like, if he comes back, he's going to be 43, 44, wherever he's at. And he's not going to be able to play at that level. I wanted to say that this year too, and man, was I wrong.
Right? Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, I think he comes back, and if he does, the Bucs with that team with those weapons. I mean, I don't know if you listened to the announcers there at the end of the game or close to the end of the game, but they were talking about it. They were like, "This is the best set of weapons Brady's ever had," and it's true. And they're young, like they can bring all of them back and just rerun it with that same defense.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, you're, Brady comes back. The Bucs got to be the favorites in the NFC.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. And I think this, like you said, the way he was able to, really kind of lead them, who they knocked off in order to get there. I think you're right on there. So Ryan Watson says Tampa's defense deserved the MVP for destroying that offense. Yeah, we talked about that, Ryan. Holding that offense to 9 points was unbelievable. But there's no way they weren't going to give that MVP to Brady. All right, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, more Super Bowl talk, but it's not going to be necessarily about the game. It's just going to be other stuff going on with Super Bowl. So we will be back right after this break with more Dads Watching Sports. Y'all stick with us. Big news in the Dads Watching Sports podcasting world. You've heard us mention it on the show already. We are now part of the Off the Ball Podcast Network. We're super excited to be joining the team of great shows, hopefully adding a little dad flavor to the mix. You can check out Off the Ball Podcast and Off the Ball Network on all your social media sites. Just search Off the Ball Network. And while you're there, give them a like and a follow. You won't regret it. Kyle Castles. It is Sunday, celebrating our 1 year anniversary of doing this show. We're very excited that you do this, whether you're a newbie to Dads Watching Sports or you've been with us for a long time. If you're a dad veteran, we appreciate you checking us out. Thanks to the guys over at Off the Ball Network for allowing us to be a part of their team, and we're looking forward to continuing to do that. All right, Kyle. So let's get into a couple of things just regarding the Super Bowl. First off, it's always tough as a dad when you have these big games, because we get into this. We create the menu, we prepare the timeline. For us with this, we're thinking, okay, how is this going to affect our podcast, and when are we going to do that afterwards, and all this goes into it. For our families, not so much. Maybe it's just another day of the week, or maybe it's just a time in which you can maybe eat a little unhealthier than you normally would.
Yeah.
So what's it like? Well, I'll go first. So here in the Draper household, I mean, my wife, she not the biggest sports fan in the world, but she loves a good time to get together and do this kind of thing. And our kids are enjoying football more and more, but they still could care less about the game for the most part. So my question to you then is, first off, what's the stake of big games like this in the Super Bowl in the Castles household? And then, okay, if it's not the Super Bowl, what's a sporting event that you're really excited to watch, maybe with your kids as they get a little bit older?
So this sounds bad. My wife had to get on me tonight because I was a little bit like I really want to watch the game. And I got a 1-year-old in here screaming for no reason. I got a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old in here just wrestling around, and it just got loud. And I got 3 kids. You would think I'd be used to loud, but when it gets loud for what feels like no reason, it just flies all over me. And she was like, "You got to calm down. Like, it's a game. You can watch it even if they're loud." Right? And so, yeah, I just want to watch the game. We had a good time. We really did. Especially once things finally calmed down.
Yep.
It took a little bit. But we had a good time. The boys didn't care too much about the game. But they do. They did like some of the commercials, which we'll get to. I'll tell you what their favorite one was. If your kids were watching, then it's probably their favorite too. But as far as what I want to say, I'm a football guy, right? So I want to watch college football championship. I want to watch the Super Bowl with them as they get older. That's what I'm looking forward to. It just, right now, and I actually can remember. I think it was Super Bowl 29. It was Cowboys Steelers. They're in the mid 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a football guy, but I was probably 8 or 9 at the time, and I just wasn't at the point where I could sit down and watch a whole game. And I remember going downstairs to my room and watching that. I don't know if you remember this movie, but that terrible Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh yeah, awful. Yeah,
awful movie, right? But at like 8 or 9, I thought it was awesome, right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I remember watching that movie, and one of my mom's best friend was over with her son, and her son's probably, I think he's 2 years or 3 years older than me, so he would have been 10, 11, somewhere in there. And him coming down and going like, "Why are you down here watching this movie? The Super Bowl's on upstairs." But like, for whatever reason, that stuck with me. And so I don't expect my 6-year-old to sit down and watch a whole football game. Yeah. If I can get him to sit down like he did and he watched maybe a drive or two, I call that a win. And I'm looking forward to where he'll sit down and watch the whole game and actually like understand what's going on, and we can talk about what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, both of our kids are too young to have any interest in it. If there's not singing and dancing, they probably would have enjoyed the halftime show more than they would have really any other aspect of the game. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's without a doubt.
We know it's college basketball. It's
yeah, well, yeah, it's so when my son was, I think, literally 2 days old. We were still in the hospital. Maybe it was just a day old. We were still in the hospital, hadn't come home yet. And Kentucky was playing Alabama in basketball. This was, I guess, 2 years ago. Kentucky was one of the better teams in the country. Alabama was not. Role reversal from this year. And Kentucky just laid an egg and got beat at Alabama. And here I am with my 1.5-day-old son. And I looked at him and I said, "Son, get used to it." Not because Kentucky loses that often, but every year, one way or another, more often than not, they're going to break your heart. And just get you like this is the agony of defeat that comes with being a fan. And so I look forward to watching them. Kentucky Louisville basketball games, or Kentucky hopefully playing for a national championship one day with them. But just knowing that just thinking about being a fan and seeing your team and like, Friday at the kids' school was Jersey Day, or wear your favorite team day, and they both wore their UK gear, and it just makes your dad proud to do that kind of stuff. It's fun to do that. Jeff Hunt says Brady will still be playing when your kids graduate. Yeah, he probably will. He'll come out with a stretcher. They'll give him a shot, and he'll go out there and get it done. And the sad thing is, he'd probably be better than a lot of other players.
He's still like top half of the quarterbacks in the league, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Okay, you mentioned commercials. Let's go to that.
Right.
Overall, my thought was they weren't very good, and I feel like we set this expectation, this bar so high, because that's kind of the thing now. Is you check out what are the commercials going to be, and it seems almost like year after year they kind of get worse and worse, and maybe that's.
But the thing is, like, we grew up in the right time where, like, the Budweiser Frogs,
right.
Budweiser always did the good ones, like the Budweiser Frogs, the "I love you, man" Budweiser commercial, like was that right?
Yeah.
Like, we grew up with those commercials, and then we all just stopped making those good commercials.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, it costs more now to buy a 30-second spot in the Super Bowl than it did then. So why are you not, if you're going to spend that kind of money, and maybe it doesn't matter.
Man. Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe they're like, look, if we just get a commercial in there, like, we're going to make the money off of it no matter what. Maybe that's
right.
what I'm thinking.
Well, yeah, I mean, probably so. I mean, I think most people, even if you have a bad commercial, people probably will remember it. Maybe that's the ploy now. Maybe it's let's create the worst possible commercial to where people will actually remember that, and they'll at least remember our brand to go along with it. So top 3 commercials, Kyle. What did you have 3 for the below average commercials of Super Bowl 55?
Well, I'm going to. I got 2 honorable mentions. The first one is the kids' favorite. Yeah, first one's the kids' favorite, and it was the DoorDash Sesame Street commercial. Like, that was right at the beginning of the game. The kids were insane. That commercial comes on, and 6 eyes locked on the TV for the length of that commercial. That was the only thing they watched intently all night. So
I don't even think my kids watch that.
So that was the kids' favorite. Just for nostalgia's sake, and quite frankly, because they're delicious, the second honorable mention is the wife favorite, and that's the 3D Doritos commercial. Now, look, and we haven't talked about this on the show yet, but I love me some Doritos. I believe
that hasn't come up in the topic of conversation yet. Surprising.
But I believe it was at your house. I took one of those family-sized bags of Doritos and demolished it by myself.
It was an achievable feat for sure. I think people still talk about it to this day.
So, like, we're both kind of excited because those 3D Doritos were delicious. So, I told her after we saw the commercial, I said, if you go to Kroger and you're not coming back with 3D Doritos, I'm going to be upset.
Yep. That's fair.
So those are the 2 favorites, honorable mentions. Now let's talk about my 3. At number 3, the T-Mobile commercial with Gwen Stefani asking Adam Levine to help her find someone, and due to spotty coverage, she meets Blake Shelton. And it's just, how does Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton meet and, like, turn into this couple? And it's all because of spotty service. And I thought that was fairly creative and kind of funny. I'm a fan of the voice. I'm a fan of Blake Shelton and Adam Levine's kind of relationship where they go back and forth on there. So I found joy in that one. The second one, number 2, is, and I'm betting you have this one on yours, the Cheetos commercial with Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis. And Mila is obviously just finished off a bag of Cheetos because she has the Cheeto dust on her hands. And Ashton asked her, "Did you eat all the Cheetos?" And she looks over, and there's Shaggy, from late '90s, early 2000s. What was it, Mr. Boombastic? It Wasn't Me, which is the song that we played with in this commercial. And Angel, Shorty, oh my angel. Now that's why everybody's gonna tune in because of my singing right there. But that Shaggy, she looks at him like, "What do I say?" And he just says, "It wasn't me." And so then, like, Ashton Kutcher is singing the song with changed lyrics for the rest of the commercial. I don't know why. It was stupid funny, and it worked for me.
Yeah.
The number one commercial, and I don't think it was even close, the Toyota commercial with Jessica Long, who is the Paralympic swimmer, who, if I understood it right, was born without legs. And she is I think I read a 20-something time medalist in the Paralympics. And it was her story about getting adopted from Serbia to American parents, and like all of that. Like, that was a touching, really good commercial. I don't know like how it tied into Toyota cars, but just her story was kind of powerful, so I liked it.
Yeah, well, I've got two of my three are on. We're also on your list, so I'll go ahead and get those out of the way. My number one was the Cheetos commercial, just because I thought it was hilarious, and having Shaggy and like you said, Ashton Kutcher kind of changing up the lyrics and stuff. I thought it was pretty funny. My number two was the swimmer commercial as well. I think it was a Toyota / Team USA Olympics commercial, so that's kind of how they tied it in. But yeah, I mean, that was a very touching story. My number three is another kind of feel good one. It was a Jeep commercial. It was towards the very end. It was the Reunited States of America featuring Bruce Springsteen, where he goes to the literally center of America where there's a chapel and goes and lights a candle. And, you can get into all kind of political stuff, which we're not going to get into, but it was just a really good, well done commercial. And anytime you got the boss, you've got to enjoy that. So that was my number three, but I agree with you for the other two. All right, Kyle, let's talk food. First off,
I'm down. I love food.
Me too. Before we get into our top 5 big game foods and snacks, what'd you have on the menu for tonight?
So I was going to do wings, but we got to Kroger too late and all the wings were gone. So we bought some drumsticks and some thighs, and I seasoned them up. What all did I put on? Cayenne pepper, chili powder, cumin, onion powder, salt, pepper. I think that was it. I made, olive oil on there first and coat them in that, and then all the spices. I did a little too much cayenne. It was just a little too spicy. But it was all skinned chicken, so we just pulled the skin off and then the chicken underneath. Smoked it with some apple wood. It was some really good chicken. We made. This is a Southern thing I learned after I moved to California for those 2 years, but made rotel. So melted cheese with peppers and tomatoes in it. So made rotel. My wife makes, and I think you've had it. My wife makes a fantastic guacamole. And so she made her guacamole. We had some potato skins, had some corn dogs, just a little bit of everything, and had a good time.
Sounds like it. I appreciate the invite. Well, and you guys must have taken a secret.
You're over there smoking chicken wings and some other stuff. Like you could have invited us. I'm just saying.
Well, that's touche. Well, you must have looked at my menu because we had very similar tastes in terms of what we were cooking. Yeah, we had chicken wings as well. Smoked them on the grill. They did not turn out very good. Just for several different reasons. But we also had some smoked rotel dip or queso, whatever you want to call it. And it was with some Wagyu beef in it. It was fantastic. And my mom made this really awesome chocolate dish. But thinking of food, anytime you get the Super Bowl or any big game, you're always breaking out the good time food. So let's see. Oh, Jason Hitchings says Italian beef pizza and queso. Now, Jason, is that all? So did you have a pizza with Italian beef and queso on the pizza? If so, that's interesting. And
no, I think he's saying, because there's a comment there. There's a comment there. He's saying he had Italian beef, he had pizza, and he had queso. That's the way I read it. Okay. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I don't know. It just sounds really good if you have Italian beef and queso on your pizza, or if dipping your Italian I was about to say, into queso.
Either way, I'm down.
Without a doubt. So best big game / Super Bowl foods, top fives. I'm going to give you mine first, Kyle. Number 5. I love this stuff. We can't cook it a whole lot just because the kids can't eat it for obvious reasons. But buffalo chicken dip it's so incredibly unhealthy and it's so incredibly awesome. So that's my number 5. Number 4. This showed up on my Thanksgiving sides list as well, and you can't go wrong without some Sister Schubert yeast rolls for a big game. I kind of use those as my like pre-game snack. Throw those in the oven. Get some yeast rolls. You can even dip those in the Rotel, man. It's so good. Number 3. Anytime you can cook a good burger, throw a little cheese, a little bacon, a little avocado, maybe even a fried egg, whatever you want to do, throw it on top of a burger. Number 2, I've got wings. Hopefully they're much better than the way mine turned out tonight. And then number 1, you got to go chips and Rotel, or for those that are not from the South, go with queso without a doubt. So Jason says they were all separate. Okay, Jason.
See, I told you.
That's fair. But Jason, for guys group coming up, maybe we should do a Italian beef pizza with queso on top and just give it a try.
I think that's a good idea.
I think it is a good idea. Speaking of good ideas, why don't you go ahead and give us your top 5 big game Super Bowl snacks / foods?
So top 5, the top 3 I actually had tonight, so I've already mentioned them. But at number 5, you got to have something sweet. So I need some good cookies or brownies. I'm cheating and throwing 2 things there. Got to get something sweet for that. I finally finished eating all of the savory stuff. Now let's get something sweet to finish the game on. So cookies or brownies are kind of my 2 go-tos. Number 4, those, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but those ham and cheese sliders on the Hawaiian rolls. So
yep.
Yeah, with like the glaze on them, and I think it's like poppy seeds or something. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So those are number 4, and they're fantastic. Number 3 is my wife's guacamole. She's sitting here right beside me. My wife's guacamole is just out of this world. She actually went to Kroger today because she needed some green onions, and all the green onions were gone. But even without the green onions, she was able to doctor it up with some onion powder that just it tasted great. She's fantastic there. Number 2, I love potatoes. You know that. I love French fries, but potato skins for a big game, that's my go-to. Give me the potato, give me some cheese and some bacon on it, a little sour cream, I'm set. And then number 1 is what everybody's number 1 should be, and that's chicken wings. Like, it doesn't get better than eating chicken wings and watching college football national championship, Super Bowl, NHL title, NBA, NCAA basketball, like any of those. Give me some chicken wings while I'm watching them.
Let me give you a little bit of advice here, Kyle. This is just Uncle Michael, Big Brother Michael, talking to you, just giving you a little bit of word of advice here on your chicken wings. You and I were texting back and forth during the game. You sent me a picture on the show. We're cooking something on the grill. You got a meat thermometer. You use it. You stick it in, make sure you're going to be accurate in terms of your cooking. One thing you may want to watch out for is if your meat thermometer has a button that switches from Fahrenheit to Celsius.
Oh no!
Because if you do that, or if your child does that on accident, or somehow that gets pushed, and you don't recognize it, and you're thinking, "Man, how are these chicken wings still at 100 degrees? They look like they're way overdone." There's a chance that you've pushed the Celsius button and that they're actually at like 180 degrees, and then they move on up to like 200 degrees. And so that will dry out your chicken wings very fast.
You remember the scene from Christmas Vacation where they cut the turkey and it just opens up, and is that kind of the way your chicken wings ended up?
That was pretty much it. Yeah. That was pretty much it. There were a handful of them that were edible, but the rest of them, to my wife and children, I apologize.
You should have come over here because we had extra thighs and drumsticks that were cooked basically perfectly.
There we go. All right, last Super Bowl topic here, Kyle. I sent you the link to this article that I came across. If you are not following the All Pro Dad, I guess it's group or organization or company or whatever you want to call them, it's a great resource for dads out there. I follow them on Twitter. They put out a lot of good content, and they came up with 5 traits of a Super Bowl level dad, which we all aspire to be. You know, we've talked about. We've got the greatest of all time, Tom Brady. We've got the Super Bowl champions. We've got people competing in championships. We want to be a Super Bowl dad. You know, I want to be a Super Bowl level dad. I'm not going to be there from an athletic standpoint, but let me at least be there from a dad standpoint. And this is a really good article. I would encourage you to check it out. Just go to allprodad.com and you'll see it as one of their articles. But a couple of things that I wanted to hit on here, Kyle, and then we can kind of discuss these before we go to break. I'll kind of read off the top 5, and then we can kind of discuss. Number 5 is execution. So, you know, just being there, being able to, you know, be a good father in times that it's needed to be. Number 4 is time, giving of your time to your kids. Number 3, perseverance, something to not only have, but something to teach. Number 2, effort, relentless effort. And then number 1 is attitude. So you hear those 5 traits of being a Super Bowl level dad, Kyle. Anything stand out to you there?
No, here's the thing. I don't feel like there's anything that stands out because I feel like those 5 are kind of what most people would kind of go with. But what it hit me as I was reading through it is, you know, I struggle with all of these at different times. Sometimes my attitude's not good. Sometimes I don't, you know, keep working or keep, you know, pushing or whatever it is. You know, it's a lot easier to just do it for them. That perseverance, especially teaching, it's a lot easier to just do it for them than to just make them do it. And I'm sure most of our dads, if they're honest with themselves, they're going to say the same thing. And so I think, like, if you wanted to add a 6th trait, I think just like being, you know, showing yourself and quite frankly your kids grace. You know, I'm going to screw up. You're going to screw up. The kids are going to screw up. And we just have, you know, I guess it's the old cowboy saying, you just get back on the horse and keep riding.
Yeah. I mean, I think I look through these and, you know, I think there are some. I don't want to say that any of these are more important than the other. I think effort is something you can always give. Now it can be poor effort sometimes, or it may not kind of hold up to the mark. But I think, you know, giving a certain level of effort with your kids, whether that's like you were talking about, having the patience to teach them something. Well, you know, maybe it's not sitting down and getting every step, but it's building time after time. Say, you know, okay, right now we're going to build on these 2 steps, and the next time we'll build on those. And or if it's simply just after a long day coming in the house and sitting outside the door for 5 seconds and thinking, man, this was a rough day, and saying, all right, let's flip the switch, let's get a smile on our face and get some energy going. That kind of effort you can always take. And I think that leads into kind of attitude. But then I think time. I mean, you know, we're all busy. We're all so busy. But it's so important to give that important time to our families because that is what I think kids and families will remember the most. It won't be the gifts that they get. It won't be the experiences they had. It won't be, my parents were able to, you know, buy these things for me. It will be, well, Dad was here for this. Well, Mom was here for this. Well, Dad was at my practice. Well, Dad took me to all these games and all that. That is what they'll remember is the time. And so I think that's a very, very important one. Jason Hitchings says, Dad's present, not perfect. I think that's absolutely right, Jason.
Yep. I totally agree.
Without a doubt. All right. Well, let's go to a break. When we come back, we've got a few other topics to hit on really quickly, and then we're going to get out of here. But we will be right back on Dad's Watching Sports. Y'all stay with us. Coming up on the Valentine's Day edition, episode 52 of Dad's Watching Sports. The guys will get together to talk about whatever's going on in the world of sports. Who even knows what's going on after the Super Bowl? Plus, the teams that we love to hate. That's next week, episode 52, Valentine's Day special edition on Dad's Watching Sports. Don't forget, guys, buy your lady something nice. For Kyle Castles here on Dad's Watching Sports. Thank you so much for checking us out. The Super Bowl Sunday, the Bucs 31, the Kansas City Chiefs 9. Bucs win the Super Bowl. Tom Brady gets a 7th Super Bowl title, 5th MVP. And if you're just now catching the show, if you're listening on podcast, go back, listen to the first. If you're just catching us live, download the podcast. You can hear a lot more about our breakdown from the Super Bowl win for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But Kyle, it is that time of the show again where I get so excited to talk about Monkey Knife Fight. Are you ready to talk some Monkey Knife Fight?
Brother, I just want you to tell me all about Monkey Knife Fight.
Well, I'll tell you a lot about it, Kyle. First off, it's a fantasy sports gaming website for the casual sports fan. You don't have to be dedicated, Kyle. You do not have to watch every single play of every single game. This is casual. You put on your shorts, you put on your hoodie, and you go and get you some Monkey Knife Fight. It's simple, it's fun, it's easy to play. The users determine which superstars are competing in the day's professional sporting events and will record more or less than the contest line provided. MKFs, daily fantasy prop games are similar to salary cap-based games, but without the algorithms. Kyle mentioned it every single week. I don't do numbers. I don't do the math. There's no algorithms involved.
I don't know what an algorithm is.
I didn't even know that wasn't actually a word, but look at there it is. They spelled it out for me. They got lineups, and most importantly, they've got sharks. Who even knew that? You got to watch out for those sharks, especially the baby ones. There are several contests to choose from, Kyle, none of which require hours of research. We don't do research here, and they're not required for competing sites. You can start with a 2 for 2 or go with high payouts, Kyle, by selecting an 8 for 8 or more or less contest, and get started now with a 100% instant match bonus of up to $50. So you can get $50, Kyle, by just typing in the promo code off the ball, which is very exciting because
That's
who
awesome.
doesn't want $50 to Monkey Knife Fight?
I want $50 to Monkey Knife Fight.
Well, I'll tell you what, you go to their website, you enter the promo code off the ball, and it magically appears.
$50.
50
like
smackaroos. So you know what's even better than Monkey Knife Fight, Kyle?
What's that?
Having a birthday is better than Monkey Knife Fight. And if memory serves me correctly, one of us that's not named Michael had a birthday this weekend. So first off, happy belated birthday. Please, in 2 or less minutes, I'm kidding. Tell us, how was your birthday?
Birthday was good. It started off weird. My mom was coming up here to see me for my birthday, and with us having COVID and being down for almost 3 weeks, we had basically not cleaned for 3 weeks, and so it took us. We started last weekend cleaning, but it took us a little while, and we had to continue to clean because we have 3 kids that destroy things right as you finish cleaning. Yep. And so we spent Saturday morning cleaning until she got here. Had a good visit with her at about 4:30. We left. My wife and I went and threw axes. Yes. I don't know if have you ever thrown axes?
We have thrown the axe, and it's a lot more fun than you would think by just throwing an axe. It's also a little bit more challenging than you think.
It is. I think it's something that maybe the Castles and the Drapers need to get together and do together one night. But we went and threw axes for an hour. That was great. When we left there, we had we kind of sat around and watched all the videos and figured out which one she wanted to post to Facebook and all that good stuff. And when we got done, we had, I don't know, a little more than an hour before our 8:00 reservation at have you ever been to cinema over it's close to downtown, but I guess it's considered East Nashville.
I have not. But, does it involve a movie?
So it's actually in the old Melrose Theater, and it's themed after like Golden Age of Hollywood. Okay. So it's kind of a cool little setting, but the food was great. We got these like stuffed meatball stuffed with cheese. Nice. For an appetizer, I got a nice 14-ounce New York strip that was really good.
Very nice.
It came with some potatoes and a horseradish sauce. Like it was legit. My wife got some scallops that were fantastic. They rotate a lot of things on their menu, but they said the scallops they keep because they're just so popular. And then we got what they call a stuff. Yeah, they got what they call a stuffed skillet cookie for dessert. So a skillet cookie with like caramel stuffed in it and ice cream on top with caramel. I mean, it was really good. So I highly recommend Cinema.
That's excellent. There we go.
Yeah, it was.
Well, happy birthday to you, sir. I'm glad your leading lady treated you right, and you had a good day, and you're on to year 34, right?
Whoa, come on, man. I am now 35. You are 36.
Okay.
You'll be 37 in September, and I'll turn 36 in February.
That's right. It is 2021. I forgot that. That's right. Yeah. So
you should know this about your best friend. Like I know when your birthday is, and I know how old
your
birthday
you are. Is, but I just
I'm sure. Thank goodness for Facebook, right?
You're dang right. Hey. All right. Well, you have a birthday every single year, Kyle. Something we have not had every single year.
I know where you're going.
Coming up on 7 years is the EA Sports NCAA football game. They have announced. I don't know how they're going to pull this off, but it's coming back. We just talked a couple of weeks ago about that group that had been putting together updates on the 2014 game, and now it is announced that 2022, I believe, will be the debut of the EA Sports college football game. They used some technical term about what kind of video systems it was going to be on. Did I have to ask you, what does this mean? Apparently it means a PS5. For those of you that are out there, I have no idea. It's back. Everybody in mom is excited, except for maybe the wives out there, because their husbands are not going to be occupied playing this game. But how excited are you? College football video games coming back.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I literally own every NCAA football video game from the 98. So it was 1997 with Danny Werfel on the cover, all the way to NCAA 14 with, I think it was Desmond Howard on that cover. I own them. They are at my house. So it brings me a lot of joy. I obviously enjoy the game. I still can play from time to time the 2014 version, and I have done all the things where you can, where it's college football revamped is what they're calling it. I've done all of that. I love it. I'm excited to see what they do on the new platform with the PS5 and the Xbox, the new Xbox. I forget what it's called. I'm excited to see that. Maybe, I think it's going to come out next year. We don't really know. They have not formally announced a release date. Most people are saying it's going to be next year. As far as the rosters go, and that's the big thing, we don't know because we got to see what the NCAA or, quite frankly, what the Power Five do when they leave the NCAA in the next year or so.
Right.
Here's the thing. I think EA Sports has their ear to the ground and they know where this is going because they're not calling it EA Sports NCAA football. They're just calling it EA Sports college football.
Right.
Right. So they're looking at something with the NCAA not being the same by the time they actually release a game. And so I think if college players still can't make money off name, image, and likeness, I think they're essentially going to do almost random rosters and give us the players the ability to edit. And quite frankly, we don't care. I don't know if you ever knew about this, but there was another college football game that really seemed to have some momentum behind it. And then they came out, I think, last year and said, hey, we were duped by this attorney and we've lost all the money that's been donated. But they were planning on just releasing a college football game with fake schools, fake, made up rosters, everything, but make it all editable so that people could go in and just make an NCAA football game with correct rosters. So now if EA Sports does this the right way, we don't have to edit anything but the rosters and then put up, some sort of cloud where I can download the actual rosters and away I go with, correct rosters. I think that's the way they're going to go unless something happens with name, image, and likeness and college players. The only thing I'm wondering is, am I actually going to be able to get a PS5 before this comes out next year? Or are they still going to be selling out just as soon as they're in stock online because people still have their bots going?
Well, and this is not going to make it any easier to get them. That's for darn sure. Because now
That's
people
true.
have that knowing, hey, I've got to have this system in order to get college football whenever it comes out. So it's not going to make it any easier whatsoever. Jason Hitchens jumps in and says the best sports video game ever. It's hard to argue that without a doubt. And maybe that's a bracket we do at some point in time.
We could do that. The college basketball game NCAA used to put out was really good too.
It was. It absolutely was. All right, Kyle, one last thing before we get out of here. Something else that's back, and that is the deliciousness of Girl Scout cookies. Now, anytime you go to the grocery store, you're going to get bugged by at least 3 to 5-year-olds trying to sell Girl Scout cookies and making you, basically guilting you into buying them. They're all good. I mean, for the most part. But I was thinking that back through this when I was thinking about this, I was like, there are some that just kind of set themselves apart. There's some that you're like, oh yeah, I'm going and I'm going to buy 3 boxes of that. Whereas I'm not even touching those. So I've got our ranking our bottom 3 in terms of the best Girl Scout cookies, and then our top 3. So your bottom 3 would be like, my number 1 is the best of the bottom 3. My number 2 is the second, and then number 3 is the worst. So give me your bottom 3 first, and then I'll do mine. And let's get our tops in.
So my bottom 3, at number 1. So the best of the bottom 3 are what's called lemon ups. They're lemon cookies. They're Number 2 for bottom 3 are the shortbread cookies. They do nothing for me. And number 1, or number 3, like the worst cookie they have. And here's the problem. I don't know who put this combination of flavors together, but it just makes me angry that somebody did it, because now we have to deal with it. Thin Mints are the worst Girl Scout cookie because chocolate and mint do not belong together.
You've been talking to Mrs. Draper because that is her.
If Suzanne agrees with me, I must be right. At least in your house. I'm not right in my house because she's right here and she's shaking her head.
Yeah, and you're wrong in my house too, because you're absolutely wrong. So my bottom 3, the correct bottom 3, if you will, my number 1 of my bottom 3, so the best of the bottom 3, I've got as the Toffee-tastic. More like toffee, not tastic. Number 2, I've got the shortbread like you. And then number 3, the worst of the worst, the anti-goat, the even you can't turn this lemon into lemonade, is the lemon ups. They're disgusting and I want no part of them, and I wish they would cease to exist. Those are my bottom 3. But Kyle,
you missed something there. You could have gone the Toffee-tastics, more like Toffee-nastics. I don't know, maybe that sounds too much like gymnastics. I don't know, but maybe you missed something there.
Well, I said toffee, not tastic. I mean, I feel like
I'll give you
that.
Yeah, it's good.
So my top 3 though, Kyle, without a doubt, I mean, these are set in stone, the top 3 flavors of all time. So number 3 are, I know you don't like marshmallows. I do. And the s'mores cookie, literally, I think I ate 2 full boxes of those last year by myself. The s'mores cookie I've got at number 3. Number 2, I'm a big fan of Maui from Moana, and I got to go the Samoa cookie at number 2 because it takes me back to Moana, which is a great movie.
You're welcome.
Exactly. And then number 1, Kyle, is the freaking Thin Mint, because it does go good, mint and chocolate, and because it is the best. Thin Mint is and forever will be number 1.
Okay, so you're wrong.
No way.
Just start there.
We're gonna. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do some research. We're gonna find the actual data, like how many of these cookies have been sold.
Look,
and what's the
stop.
number 1?
You need to
stop
right there.
Thin Mint. I guarantee
you need to stop right there. Just because there are more boxes sold of Thin Mint, which I think there's a shot that that's the case.
Because it's the best.
That doesn't mean that more people buy Thin Mint. It just may mean that the people that are wrong buy more boxes. I'm just saying. Here's the correct top 3. At number 3, you have the Samoas. I don't like coconut, but I'll eat me a box and a half of Samoas at one time.
They're very good.
All right. And number 2, and this is where people are going to really figure out what I enjoy. At number 2, I like the Do-si-dos, the peanut butter cookies with the peanut butter in the middle. That's the good stuff. At number 1, I like the tag-alongs because if you're going to pair chocolate with something, you pair it with peanut butter. So give me the peanut butter cookie, peanut butter on top, covered in chocolate.
Oh, Kyle, you have so much to learn and so little time to learn it in because this show is over with.
Really quick, thought you were going to say because I'm 35 and I'm like probably more than halfway done with my life or something. I thought that's what you were headed.
Yes, sure. I wasn't going to get that deep, but that's whatever makes you feel good. All right, man. Well, happy belated birthday. Happy congratulations to the Buccaneers, Super Bowl champs, Super Bowl 55. We are off until next week. It is Valentine's Day next week. We will still join each and every one of you and tell you what we love and what we don't love about the world of sports. So we'll see you next week on Dad's Watching Sports. Y'all take care.